We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Andy Warhol's Shot Sage Blue Marilyn picture of Marilyn Monroe sold recently for $195 million at Christie's, setting a record for art produced in the 20th century. Now, we're going to take a quick step back from politics and figure out what's happening in the art world. And to help us along with this, we're joined by award-winning artist, who is also the fantastic illustrator of Liberty Nation's sensational kids' book, Pepe and Peter, Laura Gabel. Thanks for being here, Laura.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
So the first question I've got to ask is, why did the Warhol piece sell for so much? And is it because it's this particular piece where it's a picture of an American icon created by an American icon?
I think there are a lot of reasons that this particular painting sold as much as it did. First, silkscreen is a completely different medium. And of course, today people know all about silkscreens because Americans wear t-shirts constantly. But back then, that was a very different thing. And the way Warhol described it was, you pick a photograph, you blow it up, you transfer it onto silk, you put an emulsion or a glue onto it. And he was so incredibly innovative, entrepreneurial. I think he raised the bar, really almost the zenith of innovative pop art at that point in time. And it really captures the fascination that America has with the beauty culture, if you will, Mark.
That brings me very nicely to my next question, because Warhol, he did pieces on a number of notable ladies of the day, Elizabeth Taylor, Jackie Onassis, Grace Jones, of course, and of course Marilyn Monroe, who we're just talking about now. It's almost as if he was an artist riding the wave of the culture of the times, and that's something that few others have really managed to do. What do you make of it?
I think he created the culture of its time. I think that America has always had that, of course, fascination with beauty, idols, if you will, and the genre of portraiture. And this particular piece shouts outlandish because of the coloring. It screams America. Really, Warhol described his paintings as this is a quote, if you want to know all about Andy Warhol, just look at the surface of my paintings, the films, and me. And there I am, and there's nothing behind it. But that there couldn't be anything farther from the truth, Mark. Everything is behind it. Warhol himself, when he was young, contracted a disease. And that disease created a lot of imperfections in his physical appearance. And so he was constantly obsessed with beauty, with his skin, with his physical flaws. And so what does he do? He raises the bar in terms of beauty in America so that everyone, again, very mass-produced, which was unusual.
Well, that brings me very nicely. I was going to ask about mass production here. So he was well known for making art in a very mass-produced way that was almost unheard of. Nowadays, though, so much of the art that we see coming out, it's digital and transportable in its format. And that is really very, very suited to the kind of lives that we lead now, with so much happening online. So do you think that the growth towards this more digitized and mass production and mass distribution art, was Warhol a pioneer of this, or was it part of a greater American tradition that started with Henry Ford and has now reached its pinnacle almost, with people living virtually in different parts of the world?
I think it's both of those things, Mark. I think that, you've heard the phrase, art imitates life and life imitates art. Well, here we have, Henry Ford, and Warhol saying, I want to mass produce it. I want to make it available for everyone. And of course, inherent in that is the entrepreneurial part that just speaks of America. We want to do things mass production wise. So even from the very beginning with Ford, now here we have Warhol, and he's saying, yeah, let me make art so everybody can see it, and let me make it outlandish, and let me make it beautiful, and let me make it strange, and all of those great things. And so I do definitely think he was a pioneer.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that it did reach that $200 million price tag is that the Marilyn picture, it's one of the most recognizable images in modern culture, that there's hardly anybody who hasn't just caught a glimpse of it. So, or the style of what's happening there, it almost seems familiar if you haven't even seen that particular production. Do you think that played a role in pushing the price tag up?
Because it is so well known, Mark?
Yes.
No, I don't. I just think it is iconic in its, think back in 62 and in 64, that kind of art was not really well known. And again, silkscreen printing was not very well known. So there are many reasons, I think, that drove the price up. And in particular, just the idea of the garishness, I think was very exciting back in 62. And people want that. And they long for something different. They're always raising the bar. What's different? What's different? What's different? And I think that that's what drove the price up. Because it was so different back in 62.
Yeah, I suppose you're right there. And of course, it is a piece of history to be the first popular production made in that way and then distributed to so many. So one final question for you, if I may, Laura. And it's about art today. So is traditional art, is it getting the same attention that it used to? Or is it more of a focus on, let's call it performance art or internet and entertainment, movies and music? Are these the new realms of art? Or I guess what I'm asking is, what place does traditional art, even traditional from 1962, have in today's culture?
It's interesting to use the word traditional in regards to this particular painting. And I love the fact that it sold for close to $200 million, because the attention that places on, shall we say, art, and art that has been custom made, says people still value that. And I think that's an important fact, because in today's world, everyone can produce an awful lot of art, but something that is, just beautifully made. And really, this was a very thought through piece, Mark. Over and over, he painted it to get the kind of colors that he wanted. But when you look at 200 million, you can say to yourself, okay, what's worth 200 million? You can buy this incredible piece of art. You can buy 26 miles of interstate highway for 200 million. You can buy a wedding, two Mumbai weddings for $200 million. Which would you rather have, the interstate, the wedding, or this incredible painting? And that's the focus that, the pricing of this particular piece. What it says is, art matters. It really matters. People think it's important still.
I'm very glad to hear that. Now, Laura, could you tell our listeners where they can check out some of your art? What's the best place to go and have a look?
They can go to LGabel.com.
All right, that's perfect. Laura, thank you ever so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Coming up next, we talk liberty with Scott Cosenza. What's the endgame of Democrats' plans to remove GOP candidates from the ballot? Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for
I think
LibertyNation.com.
we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fight for freedom.
The tracking poll sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.